Before you hire any contractor for your real estate deals, there's 3 things that you must do if you want to be successful. All right, in this video, I'm gonna go in deep detail about exactly what those 3 things are so that you can start having favorable results when doing deals with contractors, okay? Now, for anybody that's in the real estate business or want to get into it, you know, or you will learn that contractors are the Achilles heel of our business, meaning that you cannot win if you don't have good ones. If you don't know how to manage them, even if they are good, you'll still lose. So it's critical that you lock in, stay to the end of this video, and take notes on these 3 things that I'm gonna tell you, all right? Now, the first thing is you have to have a clear scope of work. What is the scope of work? A scope of work is essentially a detailed bid that the contractor, the work that they're gonna perform for you within the project, okay? Now, sometimes the bid could be pretty vague. It's very important though that you get a clear scope of work, that you get very specific in terms of what your expectations are, in terms of material choices, timelines, you know, any type of design features, etc., all the way down to the color, the style, the dimensions. If you're using, say, like a 12 by 24 inch tile, you want to make sure that you have as much specificity in there as possible, because contractors love to live in a space of ambiguity. And what happens is, if you don't get that specific, contractors' mind will wander and they'll start going out and making choices in your property that you won't be pleased with. And in part, it's hard to hold them accountable if you didn't set a clear expectation up front. So you need to have a very detailed scope of work. If it seems too vague, keep asking questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Sometimes, especially as a new investor, contractors can be a bit intimidating. You may feel like they're doing you a favor. They may treat you as if they're doing you a favor. And so, you know, that has a tendency to have you retract from those things that you should be doing. As the business owner, as the investor, you have to ask questions to a point of clarity, okay? If you don't set the expectations up front, then you can't hold them accountable thereafter. Now, before we get into number 2, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button, all right? If this information is valuable for you, hit the subscribe button. Now, let's get into number 2. Number 2 is you gotta have a contractor agreement, okay? I laugh all the time. It's so funny. I've been doing this for 16 years now. I've done over 100 fix and flip and wholesale deals. I own over 100 apartments. I now teach people globally how to invest in real estate, how to do it remotely, raising private money, all the rest of it, right? But even in my 16-year trek and all of the statistics that I just gave. Listen, I hope you guys are enjoying the video. I'd just be remiss if I didn't let you know, yes, we do have another one of our 5-day challenges coming up, the iFlip Challenge, where I am teaching you how to go out and build a 6- and 7-figure business in 12 months using other people's money. If you are trying to go out and build a real estate business and achieve the time freedom and financial freedom that you've been seeking all your life, then click the link in the description, join the next challenge. I look forward to meeting you guys there. Now back to the video. It's still funny to me when contractors will send over an invoice and say, hey, I sent you my contract. It's not a contract. It's just an agreement that I'm gonna pay you X amount of dollars by X date. That's not a contract, right? So it's very important, and our contract is, 13, 15 pages that myself and my students use, because I had to, after getting beat by contractors, after losing $500,000 in this business at one point in my career, I learned the hard way, as many others will, right? Thank God that I was resilient enough to get on the other side of it and go out and build a multi-million-dollar business. But most won't. Most won't get to that point, right? They had one bad experience, they're out the door. That may be you. The reality is you need to have a legal document, preferably, in my opinion, have an attorney that draft up a document. If you have a real estate attorney, even better, that puts specific language in there that insulate and protect you as the investor, but also specifically holds the contractor accountable to their performance, okay? In that contract, guess what you're gonna put in there? Your detailed scope of work. So it's so important on the onset that you develop this detailed scope of work, and then you can put that into the contract and make it all ironclad, okay? After you do those 2 things, this one is probably the most important of them all. You have to pay contractors in arrears, okay? What does that mean? That means that you need to pay contractors based on work completed. Now, most contractors are going to want a third up front, 50% up front. I've even seen it as crazy as pay me 75% up front, which is crazy to me. But when you just think about certain things logically, and always my pushback to them is, why would I give you 50% of the money unless you can do 50% of the work in enough time before I pay you again, right? So I give you a 50% deposit on a 3-month job, but why does that make sense? When I'm here, I'm not going anywhere. So I give you enough money for a deposit, say 10%, and you can start doing work. And when you complete that work, I'll give you more money for the next phase of work, right? Many investors get beat and out of this business, which is unfortunate, their first go round, because they give a contractor too much money up front. And it's just logical, right? Why would you need 50% of the money on a 3-month job in week 1? You can't do 50% of the work, right? I know it's redundant, but I have to reiterate that point because I want to drive that point home so that you feel more comfortable when you have to have these conversations. All right, now you want to pay them in arrears, meaning you give them a small deposit to get started, but then after that, you pay them based on work completed. It only makes sense. If you go to work right now, right, your employer is going to make you work a week in a hole, and then your first paycheck will probably come out 3 weeks from the time that you start working, right? Employers don't pay you in advance of rendering service. So why would we treat contractors any different? So you need to protect yourself from getting beat. The reason why most investors fail and are out of this business is because they give contractors so much money up front. When a contractor doesn't perform, then they don't have enough money to go out and hire another contractor. So they chase this contractor and they're at the behest of them doing what they're supposed to do for however long that they're supposed to do that. And meanwhile, the project is stagnant. You got carrying costs. If you took out a mortgage on it, you got mortgage payments. And meanwhile, this contractor is in the wind. So what happens? You foreclose. And it's all because you ran out of money too soon. So here's the sweet sign. Listen, I hope you guys are enjoying this video. I just want to tell you really briefly, if you are an aspiring investor or you are an active investor and you want to scale your business through remote investing, you have to go get a copy of my ebook, The Top 5 Things That You Need to Know About Investing in Real Estate Remotely. There's no fluff. It is practical application on how you can go out and build a solid remote investing business with all the fundamentals that you need. There's the link in the description below. Go out, get you a copy of that book, and also make a comment. Let me know how it's helped you. All right, now back to the video, y'all. If you only get a contractor deposit and they run off, well, they only got a small deposit from you. Yes, you still may have some overrun, but you got probably 90% of that money left to go out and hire another contractor and still get the project completed. I promise you, this is the #1 reason when dealing with contractors as to why people fail. If you go out and you do these 3 things, if you get a clear scope of work from the gate, okay? If you then go out and get you a legal document to protect you and keep the contractor held accountable to what they're supposed to do in terms of performance. And last but not least, you go out and you pay contractors in arrears based on work completed as opposed to based on money they want up front, you will succeed. Now, let me give you one more caveat before you leave. Contractors have problems, all of them, right? The reality is, much like tenants can be at times, their problems become your problems. You cannot let their problems become your problems. Many of them have different vices. And let me just say this, because it's going to be there are good contractors out. Like, I've been successful in this business because good ones exist. The unfortunate news is that 90% of them aren't, right? And so we're talking about the masses. When you get a good one, you'll know how to appreciate them and they'll appreciate you. It'd be a happy marriage. But I'm talking about safeguarding yourself against the 90% out there that are not good, okay? And many of their problems, what happens is if you give them that much money up front, it's not necessarily that they initially think to maliciously take advantage, but the outcome is still the same, right? But what happens is they start covering jobs where they're short in other places. They're covering habits that you don't even know exist yet because your relationship is new and they gave you all these great promises and everything's gonna be great, gonna make a ton of money together. So it's so important that you are a good steward over the money, that you understand that no other job do you get paid in advance of doing your job. And so it's important that you convey that to them, that you know why you're conveying it to them, which you know that now, and now you can go out there and protect yourself and make some money in this real estate game. If you thought this information was helpful, all I ask is to subscribe to the channel, like it, share it, comment, let me know your thoughts. If you had a horrible contractor story, I'd love to hear about it. And I just look forward to building with you guys. All right. Talk soon on the next video.